All right. Hear me out. Clear the land might be exactly what I was looking for one of the legacy decks I was trying to perfect on this channel. I know, it sounds crazy. But what if I'm right, though? Hello, Phil from the future here. This league rules. This is an awesome one. This one is a winner. That said, I think the recommended round for this one is round 4. Something that I've talked about on the Eternal Glory podcast a decent amount recently is that the Tron deck that is up and coming is incredibly strong. And I am a wasteland monster in this specific video. And you're going to see how strong the Tron deck is despite that. I'm not going to tell you which way it goes, but it's a good match. Enjoy the show. Hello folks, Phil Gallagher aka ThrabenU here for another legacy video. This was not the video that I intended on recording today. I intended on recording with a replenish deck, and while I was doing research for that deck, I came across this card and I couldn't let an idea go. So today I'm going to be using a dealer's choice donation deck list from Alan, thank you for your support by the way, to try out a crazy idea. So a handful of times on this channel, I have played various Manabond land decks, usually to pretty darn good finishes. Some of these have had Lumra, some of these have had Living Wish, many of these have had Sandman, and if this deck is going to be over 50% land and just wants to dump as many lands into play as possible, and eventually win with Field of the Dead, the hands that are always the best are the ones that can make extra land drops. So why not do some things that let us make extra land drops? And we're going to kind of go into some Nick Fit theory for a second here. The idea is in Nick Fit that you can take better advantage of all of the extra mana than compared to your opponent. So if you sacrifice your Veteran Explorer and you cast 5 and 6 drops, but your opponent is just casting Brainstorms and Ponders with them, and then, maybe a 1-drop creature, you are getting much more value out of that asymmetry. Or rather, out of that symmetry. And if I play Clear the Land, and my deck is 32 lands, and my opponent's deck is, 18 lands, I am going to get more lands out of this. And if my endgame is bury you in zombie tokens, my endgame is stronger than your endgame if I get there. At least in most cases. So this is probably not better than things that I have already tried. But I absolutely have to try it because it is such an intriguing idea. We are going to have our normal Winding Ways and Mulch effects to really take great advantage of Manabond, but we're going to throw some other stuff into the mix today. So essentially, I've cut 2 copies of Life from the Loam and 2 copies of Sandman to put 4 Clear the Lands into the deck, and we'll see how they perform. The last time I played this deck, I got bodied. It was not a good league, but I legitimately think I just kind of had a bad day in terms of variances and losing coin flips and things of that nature. So we'll see how it performs today. The sideboard is nothing overly exciting here. I am maxing out on Disruptor Flutes as the new thing that I am trying out in this deck. Tamiyo is everywhere. Being able to shut off Tamiyo can certainly matter, as Tamiyo's plus can have the power of all of my zombies, and that makes me sad. Otherwise, we've got a bunch of Bosejus and Ghost Quarters and Wastelands that can help us maybe bully some Tron decks. Maybe I would be better off playing some Force of Vigors in some of these slots where I have these flex lands in the sideboard, but we'll just kind of see how it goes. As this is a deck that I've played a bunch of times on the channel already, I'm just going to go ahead and get into it here. And folks, if you need any Magic cards, please consider getting them from my sponsor, toamagic.com. And when you do, use promo code ThrabenU to save yourself a little bit on your order. Plus, if you're buying this deck, you don't even need a Tabernacle. Tabernacle's bad here. Kills all your zombies with Field of the Dead. Alright, let's battle. Alright, my opening hand here looks really good. And turn 1 Exploration, Field of the Dead, turn 2 Mulch, make a few more land drops. Have Wasteland for non-basic lands, have Maze of Ith for creatures. Basically, if my opponent is playing a combo deck, I'm going to die, and that's just going to be the story all league. And if they're not, I'm going to have a good time. We're absolutely gunning for things like the Dimir tempo decks, those sorts of like fair. That is, oh, it's just going to be Eldrazi. That's fine. Alice of the Void on 1. You got it, boss. You got it. Now we have the highly tactical decision of whether or not we would like to play Mulch or Winding Way. I'm going to choose Mulch as it is closer to the beginning of the alphabet. There is a draw 3. Rip clear the land, though. I will probably throw down a Maze of Ith and a Surveil land here, rather than just play out another Winding Way immediately. Oh, that is just a wastelandable land. We're going to have a good time here. So I have multiple differently named Surveil lands here. I surely don't do that in the spot where I am attempting to wasteland lock my opponent. And I'm just a little sad about it. Yeah, there's Life from the Loam Wasteland. I don't think anything changes my mind on wanting to do this. I will Winding Way, use land, play out a land, Life from the Loam, that Wasteland back. Suppose I could have fetched to loam back one more card, but that doesn't really seem relevant. Right-click, concede? Yeah. Note that while a Chalice on 1 isn't particularly good against me, especially if I already have deployed one of these, a Chalice on 2 is pretty hot. Could play Dismember, could play Ghost Quarter, could play Boseiju. In instances where my opponent does Chalice on 1, clear the land is a way for me to make extra land drops. That's like very, very, very relevant. I'm going to turn a Blast Zone into a Ghost Quarter. I kind of want the Dismembers, especially on the draw. I think I'm going to get rid of Clear the Land. I think I'm going to go +3 Dismembers and +1 more Boseiju or Ghost Quarter. I think I'm going to go Boseiju. Having 3 legendary lands of the same one in your deck at the same time is not necessarily great when you're trying to do Field of the Dead things, but it getting me out from under a Chalice of the Void is rather real. I am willing to keep this hand. I don't love that my green source is an ETB tapped green source. It, like, very noticeably makes my hand worse. But the potential of Hedge Maze on turn 1, double Exploration on turn 2, and start going with this stuff is pretty wild. Just looking for land here. Yep, that is fine. I would not like to see Chalice on 1 right here. I'm not going to see that. That is a Glaring Fleshraker, though. So my opponent can have a chance to do some crimes. White mana or Disruptor Flute. Presumably naming Wasteland here. And I am correct. Oh, we're still going. And an It that heralds the end. Yeah, seems good. Alright, so we'll play Exploration. I will play Exploration. There's a Maze of Ith and a Field of the Dead. I can fog a little bit of damage in this next turn cycle, and then hopefully I just like cast these cards, rattle off a whole bunch of lands, make zombies, and Bob's your uncle or something. Get mazed, nerd. I'm still taking 3 damage from this. Okay, that's it for my opponent. So, here we go. I get 3 land drops. I will choose land. There's a Maze of Ith. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Maze of Ith has the same name as something else in play. Yeah. Rumble. Manabond. Wasteland. Wasteland's kind of cool. Because then I go land drop, Field of the Dead stuff begins. I can fetch again. So I will have 2 zombies. Oh, I'm going to wasteland my opponent. Excuse me. I'm not going to wasteland my opponent. I forgot about Disruptor Flute. Ozilek's Command. Notably here, the Wasteland is still good despite Disruptor Flute, purely for turning on Field of the Dead immediately. I am a little worried about just bleeding out to Glaring Fleshraker, though. I will go Mortuary, Yavimaya. I think I can just go to Graveyard. Mana is probably not a bottleneck here. My opponent already has colored mana off of this as well. I don't really care about... Oh, it's Reality Smasher instead. That one's kind of annoying in terms of Maze of Ith. Without doing math here, it kind of looks like I'm dead. Yikes. That gets to shut off Maze of Ith. I'm certainly dead. Yeah. I guess let's confirm. So, block, 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 take 4, 5, 6. Yeah. I needed just a little bit more time to get this stuff going here with Sandman. GG. I have 3 Bosejus as an answer to Disruptor Flute for exactly the thing that happened there. So I think no changes. This is a perfectly average hand. I think I can do better than this, because I think the Manabond and Explorations matter a lot. How do I feel about the 6 that just has Wasteland Lock? I probably feel fine with that. And I probably get rid of this. I think I will do an ETB tapped land on turn 1 rather than hold open Dismember for 1. And it really only matters if my opponent has a Lotus Petal opener, which they did. I take 4 damage for trying to get my ETB tapped land out of the way, unfortunately. I will Wasteland that land. I will pay a bunch of life here. The hope is that my opponent can't play another creature this turn, and then they just don't play magic once I mulch bank Wasteland. I will fetch to pick up 2 lands here. Grab a forest. Bam, bam. So I think my opponent needs a good play this turn, or they are just going to be out of the game. Abundant Countryside comes down. That isn't it that heralds the end. All right. I don't think I need to do this immediately. Maze of Ith is cool. So I think my line is actually Wasteland one of these, and Boseiju the other. The text on Boseiju lets my opponent search for a land with a basic land type, meaning they cannot get the basic wastes that is in their deck. I destroyed 2 of my opponent's lands in 1 turn cycle. We're not gonna bleed out to this. Now I will happily pick up my Wasteland. Bam, bam, bam. Wasteland again. And sooner or later my opponent runs out of lands, at which point I deploy Maze of Ith. Alright, very nice. I'm down to 7. They don't play a land, so I will say no, trying to hit a Manabond or whatever. I think I actually just play Maze of Ith and pass. I can hold open Boseiju here. Alright, opponent doesn't even bother attacking. That's great. I don't need to do this. Again, I'm looking for extra land drops at this point. I think I will even surveil for them. Yeah, there we go. Exploration on top, and I'll pass the turn. Fantastic. So, no. Play Exploration. Now I can start doing things like mulch. Yeah, 1, 2, and 3. So, make a land drop. Make a land drop. Pass the turn there, holding open Boseiju. Again, a soul land or whatever directly into something that shuts off Maze of Ith could take the game over. But we destroyed 3 of my opponent's lands and then just kind of did the 8 mulch game plan of deploy more lands than our opponent and eventually win. GG. Off to a good start, although, it was close. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com. If you're looking to store your decks online, you're not going to find a better website. It's super organized and easy to use, and I sort everything that I do into a ton of format-specific folders, and you can customize the way that you use Moxfield to your liking. Whether you like text views or visual views of multiple different natures, Moxfield has it all. And it's so easy to use, you might even say that it's a snap. All right, opponent says hello and that they enjoy the podcast. Thank you very much. If you're not aware, I do the Eternal Glory podcast with Bryant Cook and Brian Koval. That's a good time. So, here's an exploration. It has resolved. Probably means that if I play Manabond, it'll resolve as well. So let's do that. Next turn, I can potentially do some gross stuff with Winding Way. I don't care if I end up discarding this card. This just comes back from the graveyard with a friend later. I do want to resolve this. There will be some question about whether or not I am going to try to hold a bunch of lands to, immediately trigger Field of the Dead with... That's an unusual set of lands. Alright, we are doing, 5-color up the beanstalk stuff. That is fine. This card is going to be very good as this game goes long. I choose land. Oof. Not great. So, am I using this to cast Winding Way? Kind of just want to wasteland my opponent. Yeah, I think I just want to wasteland my opponent. Let's knock them off of cantrips. There is a Tundra. Here is a new Winding Way. Hopefully slightly better than the last one. Opponent's gonna Brainstorm in response, which is reasonable. This certainly would be worth a Force of Will. They don't have it. Yeah, see? That's my shit right there. Let's just go to the end step and Manabond all of these in. Yes, I will use Manabond's ability. For those of you who haven't seen this before, Field of the Dead is going to see all of these cards enter at the same time, meaning that I make a gajillion friends. That's right. Legitimately, this game was probably over on turn 1 once Exploration resolved. In a matchup versus Control, where they don't have too much ability to disrupt my lands, Field of the Dead, as the game goes long and I just naturally make land drops, is going to be such a big deal. If they had a counterspell for one of the two, like Mulch or Winding Way effects, like maybe they could have like played a real game of Magic, but without answering Exploration or having an initial Force of Will, I don't think they had much of a chance. So the slightly inconvenient thing here is that I did not see much of my opponent's deck, so I don't know exactly what flavor of spice they are rocking. Flow state is potentially a thing. I could board in Endurances. Cameos or other Planeswalkers are potentially a thing. I could go for Disruptor Flutes. I think in the absence of knowing exactly what they're doing, I'm going to board in one more, I don't know, like it's probably Riddlers, right? Like with Beanstalk shown. Like I could do this, hedge against Uros. Are there still Tamios? I don't know, maybe the deck's perfect and I just whack the submit button until I see more. Okay, I'm not going to keep this. The extra land drops matter a lot. This is fine. We'll happily keep this one. I want to test this card. But I also, just based on this curve, know that that is the card that I should be putting back. Because I can go turn 1 Mana Bond, turn 2 Mulch, and then discard my hand, and the Life from the Loam going to graveyard is very good, and the clear the land going to the graveyard is not quite as good. Alright, we are playing real Magic this time. My opponent has stopped my thing that gives me extra land drops. And this is actually where I'd rather have Malevolent Rumble than either of these two cards, because Malevolent Rumble looks for the Mana Bonds and Explorations. See if my opponent can get an Up the Beanstalk established right now, or I start doing any of my own crimes. I do have land drops for days, though. I have Snow-Covered Forest. Let's get regular Forest. I will Mulch. Not quite what I'm looking for. Like, as the game goes very long, Blast Zone on Up the Beanstalk is, like, a thing. Especially if my opponent does multiple of them, I guess. Maybe I'm just doing that immediately. Underground Sea comes down. Yeah, you can Thoughtseize me all day. I have lost a Winding Way. Mulch and Winding Way do the same thing there, so it does not matter. Life from the Loam is not what I'm looking to draw as of right now. So we will intend on charging this up and then playing Misty Rainforest and killing both of these. And I don't need to, cast a Force of Willable spell into this stuff. There's a Riddler. That's 2 draws from Up the Beanstalk, a 3rd from the Riddler itself, and then at some point my opponent can ask that from exile. Hopefully I can find a wasteland and keep that from ever happening, but my opponent is at 4 lands now. Yeah, you can Thoughtseize me. The Mulch goes bye-bye. And Quantum Riddler goes away at end of turn. I will put counter on Blast Zone. Yeah, sure. Let's destroy all of the copies of Up the Beanstalk. And my opponent can probably... Oh, they're going to Brainstorm. My opponent can probably play Quantum Riddler on their turn. My Life from the Looms, as of right now, are not exactly amazing. Like, it's just looking at Misty and Blast Zone. Blast Zone is perhaps not the answer to Quantum Riddler that I am looking for. A decent draw step could be a really big deal here. So anything that makes extra land drops will let me pop off pretty much instantly. Malevolent Rumble or Mulch or Winding Way effect could be pretty good as well. Clear the land? Well, my Life from the Loam isn't good. My opponent probably casts a Riddler on their turn anyway? Alright, let's do it. Let's clear the land. Surely you want more land, right? So I hit 1 land there. I hit Bayou. My opponent got 2 lands. Rip. Record for clear the land so far? Bad. Surely the next one will be better though, right? I will legitimately draw that. Again, my Life from the Loams aren't amazing right now. They're pretty close to turning the corner on being okay. Like, all I need to do is find 1 Field of the Dead. I have 5 different lands, Misty Rainforest being the 6th. And notably, my opponent did exile Wrath of the Skies. They probably have another one, but that's going to be one of their better outs to a pile of zombies. This turn's a little weird in terms of what I do with this Misty Rainforest and when. I think I want to surveil with it immediately. That is a wasteland. I'm going to put that into graveyard. Cast this as bait, I think. Yeah. Maybe get a Force of Negation out of my opponent's hand. And then try to resolve clear the land. Alright, resolves. Let us attempt to clear the land. Okay, that's a little better. That is 2 separate Maze of Iths in play now. Yeah, we're not dying to that fucking Riddler. Did we hit anything cool here? Oh, we junked an Uro. That's rather relevant, as that's something that's pretty good against Maze of Ith. So now, basically, I just need to find a thing that lets me make extra land drops. And we're Gucci. I might just fetch in my upkeep with Verdant Catacombs to just take a land out of deck here. I'm not interested in immediately dredging with Life from the Loam. Like, I just have another one that I can cast on my turn normally. Ooh, that's an Uro. The opponent goes up to 14. Doesn't have any lands. Means they're just full of spells. I can Blast Zone an Uro in the long term, which is fine. I suppose there's also lines where, like, I lead my opponent to decking themselves with copies of Clear the Land, because they are accelerating through their deck faster than I am. Alright, with my opponent having 8 cards in hand, none of which are lands, I probably would like to just naturally draw a Field of the Dead here. I have 4 of them. Get something with a different name. No to that. There's a snow-covered forest. So I get 1 land drop. That can just be a Blast Zone. Do I even Life from the Loam to pick this stuff up? I don't know that I do. Oh, my opponent is just done. Yeah, they said GG's never beating the double maze. Yeah, just legitimately 2 Maze of Ith versus my opponent's 2 creatures here is probably just not literally insurmountable, but like assuming I continue to play Magic, it's not super realistic for them to easily get through that given the way they have constructed their deck. I sent another Uro to exile already. A Riddler is already gone. They don't have many threats left. GG's, we are up to 2-0. Clear the land. One time good, 1 time bad. All right. Opening hand has Exploration, and therefore the hand is good. I will drop a Misty so that I can surveil and pass the turn. I don't need this upkeep stop anymore. All right, that's just a Flooded Strand. Oh, what are we feeling? I'm feeling a Hedge Maze. We're looking at Field of the Dead. Well, that's one of the cards that I want, so I will keep that. I believe that I'm going to start out. Nope, that's not the one. I want to start out playing Malevolent Rumble here because it gives me a mana back that I can potentially use to Winding Way afterwards. Manabond might be better than anything else here. I think it's actually like legitimately tough between all 3 of those, with Wasteland I think being the worst one. I'm going to take another Exploration. So there's land drop 1 of turn into Winding Way. I will choose land. Ooh, yeah. So untapped land into Exploration. Then I will get an ETB tapped Field of the Dead out of the way here. If my opponent is playing fair, They have probably already lost and it just takes a while. If they are a combo deck like Doomsday or Show and Tell or something like that, you know, they still have plenty of game. That is a basic Plains. I like my odds. This is probably a blue-white control deck of some kind. It's Stoneblade. I really don't care. Like, yeah, you can have your Batterskull all fucking day. I am going to just bury them in resources here. Do I choose land? Alright, I now have Sandman in Graveyard. I don't need to get that immediately. Let's just mulch. Another Field of the Dead, another Maze of Ith. Get the other Maze of Ith. Oh, I just get them all. That's not a Malevolent Rumble. Fuck yeah. Maze of Ith as one of these in case there is Cauldra. Underground Mortuary for the other. Always yield to Field of the Dead here. Bayou can go to Graveyard. I don't need that. Oh shit, I have one more land drop than I thought. I could have optimized this potentially better then. Anyway, there's another Field of the Dead. Figure it out. Opponent ponders. So at this specific stage, I would rather have the Manabond, but when I took the second exploration, I had multiple spells in hand that I wanted to cast. I got immediate value out of the explorations. Alright. Opponent can keep the ability to do Batterskull stuff. There is yet another Maze of Ith. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Can already get back my best bud. There's a maze. There's more other maze. There's a wasteland. For the lulz. Go to combat. Send in for 6. Oh no, not a Batterskull. Whatever will I do against this very strong equipment? Maze of Ith, my zombie that is being blocked by it. My opponent does not gain life, takes 4 damage. Pass turn, with the ability to bring back an 11/11 or so creature. What a just absolutely dominating performance. If I had a piece of advice for my opponents today, it would be have Force of Will in your hand on turn 1 every game. GG. My opponent is doing Stoneblade stuff. I don't know that I am particularly worried about that. Like, I don't know that I actually need to, you know, say dismember Stoneforge Mystic. I think I can largely just plan on Maze of Ithing, Cauldra, and Batterskull Germs and whatnot, and it's like something weird like Rename Nemesis that could actually be problematic. Wasteland's not going to be fantastic in this matchup. I'll probably turn 1 Wasteland into a Blast Zone. I might trim 1, clear the land. I don't think I am going to attempt to Ghost Quarter all of my opponent's basic lands. That's going to be a no from me. I have the most important cards, but I don't have the mana to cast them. This is an unexciting hand that I am willing to keep. 2 Malevolent Rumbles probably does enough. My opponent will just drop a land and pass. I can do a Surveil land immediately. There is a Manabond. I am okay with that. I would probably prefer Exploration in this exact spot. I don't have a totally blanking on the name. I don't have a Field of the Dead yet. Yeah, your Stoneforge is fine. Like, I have the aggressive aspect of that covered. On getting Batterskull, I will totally just cast Malevolent Rumble here. I am looking to do setup stuff right now. All of those cards are good. I think I want Exploration, despite the fact that I have Manabond. My opponent is playing a Prismatic Ending deck, and a deck that probably has both Force of Will and Force of Negation as well. There is a Brainstorm, and Prismatic Vista to shuffle afterwards. If opponent's got Cauldra, they can get in for some damage immediately. They do. That is not unexpected. I will just take that hit. 15. I think the spawn token can go away now. Oh, wow, that's only 1 possible hit there. That's rather unfortunate. All right. I think I am doing Exploration. That's the one that my opponent knows about. Okay, it did resolve. I'm thinking about whether or not Boseiju is going into play. I think it is. There is Manabond. Ooh, opponent let me have Exploration and no Surd Manabond. There's Maze of Ith, though. And that's just hopefully good enough. A wasteland is worth 5 damage. Okay, yep, that's fine. That attack by itself doesn't do anything. If you attack with the Stoneforge, it could be 1 damage. So, 1, 2, and 3. Here's the Sandman. And I would like to Surveil. I think it's more important to not take 5 damage from a wasteland. Swords is acceptable. So now we are just chilling until I find something kind of busted to do. My opponent is going to have a very hard time getting through 2 copies of Maze of Ith, kind of what we're counting on here. If my opponent has something like Disruptor Flute or Pithing Needle, yeah, they're not even bothered to attack. They can get through this stuff. Fully willing to just do this. So 1, 2, 3, 4 different lands. I'm going to make a land drop in case I care about days. I don't think that is a thing over there. No, I already had Eldrazi spawn. Let us clear the land. That is a blast zone into play on my end. My opponent just got 4 lands. All. They have 1 card in hand though, so I'm not sure that that actually does them any good. Sure, yeah, you can activate that. Oh, it does do them some good. They can repeatedly bounce Cryptic Coat. That's actually kind of annoying. I will eventually blast zone that away. My opponent is just hyper aggressively taking lands out of their deck. Is this Ward 1? Been a minute. Yes. No, Ward 2? Ward 2. Alright, so let's Maze you. Maze you. There's Ward, which I will just pay for. I don't need the spawn. I'll set a stop in my upkeep so that I can hedge Maze. Opponent then moves to their main phase so that they can redeploy Cryptic Coat. Is this 2 to return? It is. So I will fetch, hedge Maze. Don't need Yavimaya. I'm not looking for Exploration. I want to funnel 4 mana into this. 1, 2, 3, 4. I guess there's like ward stuff to be thinking about as well. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. That's Blast Zone up to enough to kill Cryptic Coat, with 2 left over for ward. So I'm not going to play my Exploration right now. Cryptic Coat is a heck of a punish for what I was doing. For Rainstorm, I will Maze Cauldra and one of the Mystery Friends, paying 2. I will take a little bit of damage here. Down to 17, taking 2 from one of the cloaked creatures. That is rather inconvenient. With 1 more turn, I would have Blast Zone on 3. Alright, resolves. I think my opponent wins from there. GG. We just went through too much of my deck without seeing a Field of the Dead, and that's fine, that's going to happen. Back to basics is a thing that I normally don't care about if I just get one of these in play. That didn't happen. I think I'm going to run back the same plan. Like, there's some lines with Disruptor Flute on Back to Basics or Disruptor Flute on Cryptic Coat that are a little interesting. Yeah, this is fine. That's probably an understatement. This is very good if Exploration resolves. Opponent keeps on 7 as well. Here is Exploration and a Field of the Dead. Rather strong start. Now I just want like some fetch land or something to kick off things with Life from the Loam, which I did get. I think I will go land drop, immediately Surveil with Hedge Maze. Wasteland can go to Graveyard. I will Life from the Loam with 2 targets. I'm just looking for things with different names right now. And I think this becomes a basic. I want to be able to... yeah, that's fine. There's Batterskull. I want to be able to use Boseiju to answer Back to Basics. I will do this. Okay, cool. There's another forest. That's great. Life from the Loam. 3 targets. 1 and 2. Land drop 1 is forest. Fetch snow-covered forest. I have 5 different names, and I have Clear the Land. I think I'm putting Field of the Dead into play, and then playing Clear the Land. Opponent Force of Wills, pitching a Counterbalance, which it's wild that that is still in the deck. Yeah, that's a Back to Basics. I have kept my answer to that. I probably even just dredge this. I don't even know that I removed that Back to Basics immediately. Yeah, I think I just let that keep my opponent's Volcanic Island tapped down. Yeah, that's a big get. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here is 6. I don't care that this is tapped. That's interesting. It seems unnecessary. Let's put that to graveyard. Life from the Loam. 2 targets with these basic lands. And now Field of the Dead starts triggering. Brainstorm is fine. Yeah. See, this is conceptually how I thought like back to basics should be. Is I have a Field of the Dead in play, my opponent plays this, and I go, okay, and I play Magic. Just completely ignoring everything having to do with the back to basics. Like, obviously, my life is better if they don't have it, because I can, like, bring this back and start ticking up Blast Zone. But we just kind of have overwhelming late game versus these fair blue decks. And let's keep pairing into them. GG's, we're 3-0. This is a high variance hand where it's as good as Wasteland is. I'm going to keep it, but this is not as good as a hand that has Exploration or Manabond. Those are my best cards, and it's not close. But with Maze of Ith to cover most non-Tameo creatures and 2 Wastelands, like, I think I am off to an okay start. 2 Wastelands, baby. Seems great to me. Note that we also have a couple of bonus Ghost Quarters in the sideboard for this matchup. Like, for this matchup very specifically. There is an Urza's Saga. It is not long for this world. And this also just, like, gives me time to draw into an Exploration or Manabond and really just do gross stuff. Alright, that is my opponent's 3rd land drop in a row. I think that surveilling is more important than getting a tapped Field of the Dead out of the way here. I have a handful of cards that hitting them will just vastly increase how good my hand is. Alright, opponent has a soul land, but nothing to do with it. Kozilek's Command, while Daze is not available. Because from my opponent's perspective, I probably just look like a blue deck. And I will get Hedge Maze to keep that illusion up. I will say no to Maze of Ith. The jig is up once Maze of Ith hits the graveyard there. Alright, that is not what I am looking for. So my opponent has a chance to do something kind of busted. None of those cards are good. I will take all of them. But, like, I am discarding cards at this point. Discard a Field of the Dead, a random fetch land. So now my opponent has at least 4 mana, and this is the point where, like, the Karn type cards can start coming out. Karn in One Ring. And this is where I can kind of feel not having, an Exploration or Manabond. I've looked at a decent amount of cards. Okay. This is pretty slow. I'm still going to do it because casting this once lets me pick up 2 Wastelands. Maybe not Maze of Ith for the last one. Land, Wasteland, Misty. I think I'm going to Wasteland the Planar Nexus. I think that enables the most nonsense immediately. And I will maybe just rediscard Misty and ETB tapped land. So my hope here, conceptually speaking, is that my opponent does a medium amount of damage to themselves between One Ring and Ancient Tomb, and I can limp over the finish line with Sandman while, like, wastelanding them out. An Exploration or Manabond is a really big deal here. Manabond is probably lethal in 1 turn. There is Grim Monolith, costing my opponent 2 life. Opponent has plenty of mana, even more with the 2nd Grim Monolith. Rhinosphere is actually annoying. I love the attack as a flex. I respect the hell out of it. Not interested in this. Another Wasteland. Am I playing a 3-3? I'm probably playing a 3-3 and letting my opponent have a bunch of mana for this turn. We're about 20 cards into our deck, and we have Mist, Manabond, and Exploration. That's fine. I could have mulliganed this one looking for them. Opponent is at 11. I can attack for at least 4 next turn. It can't be blocked by the Spawn token. But, you know, Kozilek's Command exists, I suppose. How do we feel about Clear the Land in this matchup? Kind of weird. Might have to take Clear the Land out for my 4 Disruptor Flutes here. This is one of the rare times where my opponents might be able to use their mana better than I can. Or maybe more accurately, the bonus lands. If it makes it back around to my turn, I could attack for 4 and then double wasteland my opponent. Leave them with Ancient Tomb, One Ring, Trinisphere. Another Urza's Mine. Down to 9. It's something stupid. I'm not going to like literally whatever this is. It is Karn. Are you just immediately going to go for Mycosynth? Oh no, you fool. This can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. I will just kill your Karn. Say no to Life from the Loam. Another Wasteland. There is also the line where I just attack their face. But I think I go for Karn. So, play Wasteland. Go to Punchies. Attack and kill Karn. The Sandman. I think this moment is my opponent realizing that this thing can't actually block. I have to read the card. Indeed. Indeed you do. So now I will Wasteland once. I will Wasteland twice. My opponent is going to take 3 from the One Ring, going to 6. The One Ring kills them next turn, assuming that Sandman hits them. Also, like, Exploration now becomes a burn spell, as it allows Sandman to attack for 1 more point of damage. If I can go land, Exploration for 3 mana, second land, then Wasteland my opponent again. This is still very much a game, though. Like, my opponent got Wastelanded a bunch at the beginning of the game, but they do, like, their deck is mana and haymakers, so I do need to finish the game here. Ooh, Manifold Key. Are you going for Monolith here? Yeah. Okay, there's a One Ring for protection, so now my opponent is not dying to their own stuff immediately. We'll see whether they even tap that One Ring. I don't know that they need to. I'm looking for land drops here. Hello. So I need to play 1 land here to allow me to do Manabond, and clicking through it is now annoying because Mycosynth Lattice is still chilling in play. My opponent has protection from everything. I now move to my end step, use Manabond's ability, which gives me a bunch of zombies. My opponent is now going to draw a card with the One Ring. Fancy that. The danger is real. I now will destroy my own Manabond to destroy their key, because untapping these seems like a big deal. Is that better than just Wastelanding, though? Because this could be 3 mana, whereas Manifold Key is always 2 mana. He also is untaps on the One Ring, though. I think I'm going for this. It's a shame I don't have a Yavimaya. I could do both. Alright, opponent to 3. Sandman is now lethal. One Ring is problematic. Ancient Tomb over there is problematic. I'm not dead to Karn. I can just fully play a game of Magic through Karn Lattice Lock with zombie tokens. My opponent has 11 cards in hand. Even the Sandman can attack through Ensnaring Bridge. We have made life hard for my opponent. Actually, they made life hard for themselves, actually. Because they did the Karn Lattice play, not realizing that this could not be blocked by the Eldrazi Spawn token. Like, that could have been a game-losing moment. I don't know what their other lines were without, like, looping back to that exact point of the video, but it is very possible that they grab some other utility artifact in that spot, or just play something else other than the Karn, and I am in a much, much, much worse position. Note that if it gets to my turn, I get to dredge Life from the Loam, get some combination of Wastelands and additional copies of Field of the Dead, and my opponent has a bad fucking time. Hell yeah! GG. 4 Disruptor Flutes in. Ghost Quarter, Boseiju in. Blast Zone is a maybe. I think I am getting rid of Clear the Land. I think that in this particular matchup, it is just very, very important to Ghost Quarter and Boseiju my opponent to death. I theoretically need to pull 4 more things out. I think I'm just pulling all 4 copies of Maze of Ith. Like, there's 1 Cityscape leveler that I have to worry about. Like, do I end up wiping up Urza Saga tokens without Maze of Ith? Like, do I need Maze of Ith to hedge against that specifically? Or am I just trying to wasteland those? Let's try it like this. Because I can also just Disruptor Flute Urza Saga. So it's like Saga, Ring, Karn that I need to pay careful attention to. Yeah, this is fine. This is Exploration and multiple Wastelands. And ways to refuel. I mean, if my opponent just shits something scary out on turn 1, there's nothing I can do about that. What a god draw. So this is 5 mana on turn 1. No, sorry, 4 mana on turn 1. Yeah, that's the One Ring. That seems good. That is strong. Ooh. The problem here is that my opponent has these 2 things. So, presuming that they have any other land in their 4 cards plus draw step plus 1 ring, like, they're probably fine. Up to 7 cards in hand. There's a tower, and that tower represents untapping this immediately as well. Yeah, sure. All right. So I get 2 land drops. So I think I will put a Wasteland in play, cast Mulch, get Ghost Quarter Yavimaya, play Wasteland Urza's Tower. I can destroy a land every turn, but I imagine that my opponent makes decent headway unless I answer Manifold Key. I don't know that I'm actually answering Manifold Key. Like, Blast Zone type stuff is very slow against that. I'd actually like to draw a Manabond and just kill my opponent with Field of the Dead. Like, draw Manabond, play Winding Way, go. Ancient Tomb, Grim Monolith. This is a lot of mana. Ooh. So there's potentially a Kozilek's command here. What am I doing? Probably making land drop 1, doing Winding Way, choosing land, getting a Blast Zone. Maybe can do that next turn. I will Wasteland that Ancient Tomb. We'll play Hedge Maze. We're going to start looking for Manabond. That is not Manabond. I have made my land drops, so that's that. Notably, opponent is playing Leyline of the Void. Not something that I overly care about. Like, I use my graveyard a tiny bit. Yeah, that's expected. Life's kind of bad, despite the fact that I have Wastelanded my opponent 3 times in 3 turns. My opponent had a pretty optimal start with turn 1. Tomb, Monolith Key. 3 bottom, 3 top. Opponent is at 10 life. I'm not pressuring their life total right now, though. Planar Nexus comes down with no friends, but, like, there's still 9 mana here. There's more than 9 mana here. Voltaic Key. Is that mana or card draw? That is mana. That is a Karn with the mana to Mycosynth. But that doesn't necessarily beat me, oddly. A lot of this depends on whether or not my opponent has liquid metal coating, right? So I just want lands. That is a land. I will take that. We'll play another land. And I don't want to play Field of the Dead until it produces zombies. That's relevant here. That ring has 5 counters on it. That ring has 0 counters on it, though, which is a bit more problematic. My opponent is just going to start going for my face, attacking for 6, which is fine. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Field of the Dead nonsense begins. Opponent loses 0 to the One Ring. Oh, right, with Lattice in play, they can just do that. Normally the game's just over. Opponent has Cityscape Leveler. Oh, that gets rid of my Exploration. Now I don't know if I win. I can play Field of the Dead, make another zombie. But I don't know where this is going. I think the answer is nowhere. I think my opponent wins this one after being Wastelanded 3 times. Yeah, the Arn Plus blow up my land is not great for me. Oh, fuck, this is when it attacks too. Shit. Alright. I think my opponent kills me in one more combat step. So I will pass the turn and let them kill me. As they do have literally half the clock that I do. And if we get into a long, drawn-out game, I will take the W on timeout. Down to 0. Yeah, so this is the primary thing that I care about in terms of Maze of Ith. But I otherwise did not miss that card. I think I'm going to run it back as it is. I think my other colorless lands matter more. My Boseijus. Yes, this is fine. This could just produce lethal zombies on turn 2. If I, like, draw hotter than the sun. Clarifying. There's Manabond. And I just don't want my opponent to have like the same start they did last time, where they start on Ancient Tomb Monolith Key and just do something on turn 1 before I can start doing stuff that looks like this. That is Ancient Tomb into Grim Monolith. Okay, cool. It did not have more than that, at least. Nice. So I can play a land, do Winding Way, name land, hopefully hit Field of the Dead. I did not hit Field of the Dead. I still think that I am putting in all of these immediately. You know, when you say, would you like to make 6 land drops? I think you just say yes. So then I can Wasteland Ancient Tomb immediately, tick up Blast Zone to potentially kill Grim Monolith, and Surveil to find something else to keep me going. Note that this Tron deck is one of the best decks in Legacy right now, in case you aren't like super dialed into Legacy. It is leagues ahead of other decks in terms of how much it is overperforming relative to how much it's played. Oh, that's really annoying. I can Blast Zone that away. I can alternatively just Blast Zone away the Monolith. I think I need to Surveil and see what I'm going to draw. Edge Maze. I don't want Savannah. I think I want to keep my Manabond. I think I'm going to get rid of the Grim Monolith itself. Let's go ahead and put 1 charge counter on this. That is great. I will Winding Way immediately and choose land, hoping to find Field of the Dead. That is Field of the Dead. Oh, this is neat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It says nice top deck. Yeah, I surveilled for it. I specifically, in fact, set it up to do that. So I need 1. I'm trying to figure out if I can have my cake and eat it 2 here. So I need to funnel 3 mana into Blast Zone to do its thing. I could go 2 mana. I could play. Yeah, I can play a Boseiju. I will play a Boseiju. I will Blast Zone to destroy Grim Monolith. Oh shit, it just worked. I was fully expecting response, untap, cast Kozilek's Command. That didn't happen. Okay. So then I will Boseiju Voltaic Key. I just didn't expect it to be this easy. Then Manabond, put these in. Get 2 zombies. And Wasteland the Workshop. That was disgusting. I feel like we got a little bit lucky there. Yeah. You can have your land. Like, I was thinking about all these lines where, like, we potentially, like, Boseiju'd something in response to activations. None of that stuff needs to happen. In for 4. Opponent to 14. There's an Exploration in case it becomes relevant later. No to Manabond. Just checking my graveyard. I don't have a friend. Ghost Quarter Urza Saga. No wastes. I think I brought this up earlier, but this searches for a basic land card. This searches for something with a basic land type. Those text boxes are different. Oh yeah. Mulch is very strong here. Hopefully I just find something that blows up another one of my opponent's lands. Opponent to 10. Yeah. That is just 1 land, unfortunately. It's a decent one. It makes me 2 zombies immediately. My opponent can potentially go up to 4 mana immediately, though, and could still do something busted, but it would be doing something busted while I have 4 power on board. So some of the Karn Mycosynth stuff is significantly less good at that point. Opponent also probably starting to be under the pressure of time. 5 minutes on the clock is when I start like thinking like, okay, I gotta lock in a bit. Yeah, there's Planar Nexus. That's what my opponent needs. There's a Grim Monolith that can catapult them further ahead. I mean, they can Disruptor Flute on Wasteland to, you know, stop me from hitting a Loam. They're still taking 8 damage this turn. In I go. Opponent to 2. I guess I'll do this in case there's like Kozilek's Command. I intend on just blocking all of these with spawns. The reason to hold it is for some bizarro thing like All Is Dust, which doesn't really see play, but I suppose could in theory. Alright, this is all the mana in the world. Extinguisher Battleship. Yep, seems good. So I can cast this, and if my opponent destroys it, I bring it back with friends. But it could get exiled, which would be inconvenient. Yes, this is an exile effect. My opponent has opted to make spawns, presumably for Field of the Dead blockers. So, at this point, every land is scary. Wow. Miss on all lands. I will hold this Manabond in my hand. That way, if my opponent plays something like an Ugin, I still have the possibility of doing gross stuff. But if I make it to my turn and dredge Life from the Loam with Wasteland, Ghost Quarter, making 6 zombies certainly wins the game. That is a Karn. Opponent is doing the thing. They could Tormod's Crypt and take me off of Life from the Loam. They are going for Lattice. I have 2 Field of the Dead in play. We will see how that goes. I am not doing that. That is a land. There's 2 zombies. I need 1 zombie to connect and my opponent dies. Opponent has tons of mana. That is an Ugin. Now, there's a very fun interaction here where my zombies are now colorless, but my opponent can plus for life. They did not do that. They are tutoring with Karn or Ensnaring Bridge. Yep. No to this. I really just want to draw land. No to Manabond. My opponent now has 2 minutes on the clock to finish this off. They potentially can't really draw cards with the One Ring here, for both Ensnaring Bridge reasons and the One Ring killing them reasons. They're going to gain some life, though. Maybe that's not actually true. They can start destroying my Field of the Deads. There's a Leyline of the Void, sure. I just want to hit any of my lands. That is a land. Fortunately, these don't work as spells. They're pseudo spells right now. I will Legend Rule Boseiju. Make another friend. Pass turn. Opponent blows up my Field of the Dead. Pluses with Ugin. Ugin's ultimate is presumably pretty bad for me. They have 1 card in hand, and I didn't realize that was in play. Actually, I guess I should not have done that, not for the Legend Rule reasons, but for holding a Field of the Dead in my hand and then dumping a bunch of lands in at the same time. Alright, so Ugin is now ultimating. My opponent gets to search their library for any number of colorless non-land cards, exile them, shuffle, until the end of turn they can cast them without paying mana costs. So presumably, this kills me. Like, Cityscape Leveler alone is pretty good. Oh, so they are going to destroy their own Ensnaring Bridge. Okay. Sure. Land drop. Plus on Extinguisher Battleship. That is just an 8/8, which can be blocked by a 0/1. Opponent now has enough cards in hand that these zombie tokens can attack. Hold on. That means I kill Karn? Yeah. Attack with all creatures, kill Karn. This is fine. Now I Life from the Loam, Field of the Dead, Boseiju, Blast Zone, or 2 mana. This non-creature? No, it's not. So, play Exploration, play Manabond, Boseiju, Cityscape Leveler, 1 green, 1. The Lattice is a little annoying. Then move to end step, where I will say yes to this. Yeah, and opponent will time out on their turn. We are now undefeated. Opponent played that one slowly, just kind of consistently through. If they play faster, they probably don't lose from this position. But like in trying to play quickly at the end, I think they missed that I could open up killing Karn and therefore unlock my mana and spells. And at the point where I have access to my resources again, a pile of zombie tokens can buy time. But it was that hard. This Tron deck is extremely strong. And we'll see if it's still around as of the end of June when we get our next BNR update. I'm fighting for him, but I am now 4-0, playing for a trophy. GG's. All right. I am playing for the trophy. I have a Manabond. The Manabond is actually probably worse than Exploration with, like, the way this hand is looking, but I don't think this is a mulligan. I do wish that the clear the land was a Life from the Loam. that it potentially would have been if this was a more traditional list. This is a hand that just has a ridiculous amount of upside. Delver? There's a very big difference between this being Delver and this being Sneak and Show. Windswept Heath. I think I will go Yavimaya Winding Way here. I will choose land. Oh shit. So this would be 6 different lands. I think I wait a turn on this, and then probably do crimes next turn. I alternatively could just put these into play, surveil, and start going. I'm gonna wait 1 turn. Like, if this is a tempo deck and my opponent just wastelands the Field of the Dead, it's incredibly awkward for me, right? Quarry Steelcutter is fine. Ooh, but no immediate follow-up. That's fine. I will Malevolent Rumble. Find a Boseiju. I could play a land and Boseiju the Quarry Steelcutter. I kind of like that. Green and 1. That will give my opponent a Volk. But that's hopefully fine. Because it is my hope, now that I control 7 lands, that I just get 4 Field of the Dead triggers while having Blast Zone for DRC or Delver or whatever, and Maze of Ith for Murktide Regent. Yep. Seems good. I'll bring it back in a second. That's fine. Like, what is my opponent realistically supposed to do? Play Murktide and just also have Maze of Ith immediately? Oh yeah. I'll lose Manabond if I do that. That's probably okay. Opponent can get some Surveil triggers. Island and Brainstorm to graveyard. Oh, lots of Surveil triggers. I don't know, maybe rebuild with Flow State, question mark? For sure. Cycling both. Let's Hedge Maze. I suppose I could have gotten 1 more zombie by doing this earlier. Do I want to draw this land? So on my turn, I want to go 1, 2, 3 and do this. Means that I'm not doing this immediately. I think I'll just say no to that. That's pretty replaceable. You may have your stuff. A new Manabond is actually totally fine. I'm going to sacrifice my current Manabond. By the way, I'm also just attacking for 8 here. Like, lest we forget about this army of zombies. I'm fine playing this Manabond. If this eats 8 days, like, cool. I'm potentially just, like, tapping out for this in the future anyway. Yeah, there's the Flow State. But, like, I guess opponent isn't rebuilding. They're trying to stabilize versus 8 power worth of zombies that is threatening to very quickly become more. So, like, again, realistically, what are they doing to win? Yeah, this is all fine. Yeah, that's disgustingly good. Loam, Field of the Dead, Blast Zone, some other land. Yeah. And yeah. Everything just resolves. That's great. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I will put all of this in at end step. In we go. This is fine. I'll just untap that. Then these come in. Say yes. 3 more zombies. And it's probably fine to just kill my Manabond to kill this. And not let my opponent get any Surveil value. Again, they've got to be running something really weird main deck to get out of this spot now. Like, they need a main deck Pyroclasm style card, which is just, like, not really a thing. Yeah, you can wasteland my Field of the Dead. Then what? Yeah. Absolutely devastating. GG. I just want to live. And presuming that I live, I probably win. I can think about these things as well. Clear the Land had a couple of big moments in the league. You did fine, bud. Am I dismembering? Maybe I'm not dismembering. Like, the play pattern where my opponent goes turn 1 DRC, I go turn 1 dismember, it gets dazed, I'm down 4 life, is pretty bad. But, like, assuming I get to my end game, I just win. Maybe this helps clear the way for my Explorations and Manabonds to resolve. I'm going to turn 1 Wasteland into Blast Zone. I could pull these since I'm playing Endurances. That makes sense. And then, like, go down 1 random Mulch effect or something. I don't know. I'm not entirely convinced that the Dismembers are better than just playing more mana. Sure. This is a mediocre hand that doesn't have some of my absolute best stuff, but it just has like Maze of Ith and Blast Zone, and I'm going to call that good enough. There is DRC. I mean, let's see if I am down for life for boarding in Dismember. I am not. In which case, Dismember certainly ends up saving me life. There is Ponder. Delta comes down. Nothing else. This is all fine. I am fine casting a spell here. Let's like put a Blast Zone into play. And then I think I'll play a Malevolent Rumble. The upside of it resolving is pretty high. I can fish for Exploration or Manabond. Opponent forces pitching Flow State. And then presumably is surveilling. No. Huh. Why not? Is it just in your hand already? There's Flow State, which is online. There's a DRC. I'm gonna try to get this Blast Zone wastelanded. Cast a Winding Way. Use land. Okay, I get a Boseiju out of that, which is fine. I think I'm going to wasteland the wasteland here, so that my Maze of Ith has a better chance of sticking around. Endurance is a great draw at this point. Manabond, Exploration are great draws. I'll take a little from DRC. The nightmare scenario is another creature backed by a wasteland the following turn. I almost actually want to Yavimaya just so I can Blast Zone both of these if I play out Maze of Ith. Alright, I get 3 lands. 1, 2, 3. I will play out Maze of Ith to protect myself temporarily. I'm not on track to Blast Zone both of these unless I randomly spike Yavimaya. Yeah, this was the fear. Now I need like an Exploration or a Manabond or I'm in trouble. Uh-oh. Alright. Winding Way. Use land. Field of the Dead. Not what I'm looking for. I'm gonna die to Lightning Bolt. Field of the Dead, not what I'm looking for. That is a Preordain. Fancy looking art. Wasteland on Blast Zone is a disaster. I don't know that I have an out besides Endurance resolving. Alright. That'll do. GG. Yeah, that just lined up very, very poorly for me. I needed 5% more time, or, for my hand to not look like that. Run it back. Keep the Dismembers. I think so. Oh, this is so tragic. With any one other land, this is incredible. I could keep it. My deck's 50% land. I think I will just mulligan. This is fine. The Endurance is very good if I draw another green pip, but I'm very much not guaranteed to do that, so I will put back Endurance. This is going to be tight, Absolute final game in trophy contention. Volcanic Island into DRC. And I think I wasteland this land and then dismember it so Daze isn't in the equation. Ooh. Wasteland you. And then on my opponent's turn, so Force of Negation isn't online, I will dismember. Alright, good. We have dodged the Daze backup, or Force of Will backup on the creature situation, which is very good. That is fine. And now hopefully I just start going into the mid game where I overpower most things that aren't Corey Steelcutter pretty easily. That's a shuffle. That's probably good for me. Endurance is potentially pretty good. Use land, hopefully find green pips. Found green pips. Fantastic. This is going very well. Alright, that's Corey Steelcutter. But no immediate follow-up. Manabond is interesting. I think I'm just playing Endurance on my own turn. So that my opponent playing a spell, like a counter spell on their turn, doesn't lead to prowess stuff making this bigger. I think that's my plan. Force pitching Brainstorm. Alright. I will potentially lose Blast Zone to Wasteland, which is why I'm not talking about ticking up Blast Zone to be an onboard answer to Corey Steelcutter. I don't think that's realistic here. Flow states are now going to be online after that Force of Will, by the way. Double Wasteland. But no spell for Corey? No spell for Corey would be great. Surgical on what? On Manabond, the card that is in my hand. Which is unfortunate, but Manabond's not a very good card right now. So that's fine. I'll take a little damage from the Monk. Yavimaya. I will Hedge Maze. This is a very good card in the long term and a very bad card in the short term. I think since it's very bad in the short term, I'm going to get rid of it. And I will go ahead and dismember this token. I think my opponent is currently favored to win this match, unfortunately. Like, they know to save their wasteland for this Maze of Ith, and 2 cantrips a turn means a new monk appears. I'm looking for a Boseiju. I want to Boseiju Corey Steelcutter. Yeah, I'm going to fall a little short here. I'm at 8. I will Malevolent Rumble. None of these cards do anything. Exploration is the one that has the most potential to do something if everything goes right. I will cast Exploration, play Maze of Ith and Yavimaya, and pass the turn. I'm not going to get to keep Maze of Ith. Take about half of my life total this turn. Yep. Please no other spell? Alright, cool. I will legitimately save 1 life right here. Does trample though. I need a mulch effect. Malevolent Rumble. Endurance? Okay, yeah. I'll cast that on my... on my turn? Maybe that was supposed to be my turn because of Corey Steelcutter. I was thinking about their mana, but like it's not the mana that matters, it's the raw number of spells. That was a big mistake. Not punished. Very lucky not to be punished, though. Oh, interesting. My opponent said no to Preordain. That seems like a no-brainer keep to me. Like, you just keep it. You make some extra monks. Even if it's not lethal this turn, next turn it almost certainly is. And drop. That's another DRC, which produces a monk. And I believe that I am now dead if my opponent attacks outright. Exactsies. Drat. I think my opponent still wins this one, even if I don't die immediately. I need a little bit more time to fully get set up in that game, and I just didn't get it. But that is a 4-1 finish and the end to a very, very good league. GG's. Let's go ahead and wrap this one up. Overall thoughts on the deck list. Pretty darn good. I think the existence of Tron in the metagame alone is a reason not to play Clear the Land. I will stand by my original logic that we get more use out of these land drops immediately hitting play than our opponents. And I did not board this out in every round. This was something I frequently kept in the deck. So it's not like this was the spice that was just clearly bad. It was fine. It was a very high variance card, but if you are looking for more ways to cheat land drops beyond just Manabond and Exploration, which this sort of deck often is looking for, this was not crazy tech to try out. I don't hate the shift away from Life from the Loam. I don't hate going down on the number of Sandmans. Maybe we can find something else to do at 2 mana. Maybe some of this Ghost Quarter stuff that is currently in the sideboard could find its way into the main deck as well. Like, maybe we could go up from 32 lands. The more lands you have, the more likely you are to just have Manabond Field of the Dead as a way that you can steal games versus combo. I was very happy to get paired more or less exclusively versus fair stuff, unless you count Tron as unfair, which it kind of is. We have Wastelands to fight against that. The core of this deck, which I've been working on off and on for a while, is pretty good, and I like it a lot. I'm going to give it a big thumbs up. I am glad that I took the time to play this, but I think it is now lunchtime for me. So I hope you all enjoyed. I always enjoy playing this style of deck, and I hope you have a great rest of the day. As always, if you want to fund a deck on this channel, the donation deck list stuff is available in every single video description, and the Dealer's Choice donation deck lists are one of the best ways to support my channel because they fund crazy videos like this one where I just kind of do my thing. Have a great day, folks. See ya!